All right, hello everybody, and welcome on back to some Sunday Musings, where I'm feeling pretty good about these few episodes. Like, I think I'm gonna try to segment these to like something special. I don't know. We've got this is episode 3 of today. Basically, we're summarizing everything that I've been trying to do with this YouTube channel. And I feel like everybody's trying to do. Like, it's nothing unique. People are people, and human nature. Once we kind of understand that, we really start seeing that, oh, hey, everybody else out there on this earth is trying to do the same thing I'm trying to do. And some people might roll their eyes and when you say it like that, like, oh yeah, we all knew that. But then, did we really though? Like, understanding other cultures and societies is really just understanding how they've reacted to their environment, what problems they've had to try to solve, and how they've solved them. Like, 'cause that's it. That's the basis of humanity. Like us as a people, we're all out there doing the same things. It's just okay. Maybe it's really rainy here, so I got to deal with like water or something. Or maybe it's harder to grow food here because there isn't as much water. Or I know specifically in the U.S., like Oregon and Colorado, two of the most forward-thinking places that legalized cannabis were the original two. I think California actually might have been too, but like I don't know, California's got its own set of problems with Hollywood. Like the very uber rich and famous liked it there, and we'll get to that. In fact, I actually have a side project that I'm starting to. It's a relatively new concept for my area of work, but I'm sure people have been thinking it. Well, actually, let's just go ahead and say that because we'll get distracted and go down a rabbit hole of another nature. But basically, we can help bring the wealthy people and the uber wealthy back into the fold of acceptable society. And because they are alienated. I mean, hate to say it, but the 1%, like, yeah, there's a target on the back of the 1%. Now, not saying that, like, people are out there to kill them or anything, and don't twist my words, but what I'm saying is the Purge movies, there's definitely motivation to the extent of it's not a good idea to be too wealthy in a time when everybody knows your wealth. Like before, it was easier to get away with because it's like, oh hey, but now it's like everybody's under a microscope and we're all accountable. And it's funny because the whole way the religion, it's like God's always watching you. That's what I learned growing up is like, He's watching you, and if you do this, that's why I love shows like Family Guy because they just make fun of it. It's like, He's watching you and he sees what you're doing and how, oh, gross, like, stuff like that. But it's like, but that's the way that they're trying to tell you to live. Now, anyways, let's get back to the project idea. And again, I just say mine because like it's just something that I'm focusing on. I'm sure I hope people are out there doing it. But basically encouraging people that have a lot of money to invest their money in a nonprofit company that turns around and loans it out to people at low to no interest. That's it. Like that is the quickest and easiest way to like solve multiple problems. Let me walk you through it. So, if it became popular enough to where it was regularly helping people, and I'm just saying with like 5 or 10,000 bucks worth of loans, like help you get rid of a credit card, because the way, at least in my experience, is you could get a card or two. I actually closed one of my old ones, or it was closed for me, but like, just trying to get my stuff paid back, and and credit cards, it's like 1,000, maybe 5,000, maybe 10,000, and then you get trusted with that much money. Now, a lot of people run into the limit and they don't really fully understand, myself included, and it's easier said than done. Is like, well, just don't spend as much. And it's like, well, wait, if you want to live a certain way, and that's why California is such a mess, is because you get all the Hollywood people there that have like tons of money that they don't know what to do with. And then you got everybody else that isn't in a famous movie and is just, trying to work and eat and live and sleep there. Like, and they're doing really messed up things sometimes just to get that comfort level. And like, it's a problem. That's why one of our biggest crime areas for gang activity. It's one of our biggest inequalities. Like, and it's all related. It's all like connected. So, anyways, back to the loaning idea. So, and granted, there could be some pushback from some banking institutions and stuff like that. But if you think about it, if you got like a organization of people together that volunteered, or at least were nonprofit, and if that was their job, then maybe it could just be someone's job to handle all of this stuff. And they're not the only person that has eyes on it. Everybody has eyes on it. Everybody has eyes on the money coming, the money going. Like, so there's no fraud. There's no chance for fraud because, again, people are people. It's not orcs doing this. I think that's one of my new favorite sayings is like, people out there committing crimes aren't orcs. They're not from Jupiter. They're not some alien weird race. It's people. It's like, so how do we keep it to where, well, first off, let's keep them from stealing, and all that stuff. But that's reactionary. That's reactive preventative, or that's reactive problem solving. Whereas we can do it preventative, the ahead of time, by removing the factors that could contribute to such a thing. So, again, one of my favorite TV shows is Breaking Bad. My other favorite used to be Dexter. But for some reason, I don't know. It's like I can't stomach it now. Maybe I'm getting older. I also stopped drinking alcohol 4 years ago. And I notice I also don't like. I used to love Trailer Park Boys. I still think it's hilarious. Like they're very funny people, but like, I just haven't found myself wanting to watch it recently. Like, hasn't had the same appeal now that I don't drink. So maybe I don't relate to the problems as much anymore. That doesn't mean that I'm better than them by any means. Like I was in a trailer park. Like, anyways, my point is people are people, and we gotta solve these problems so that they work for people. Now, the Hollywood thing, I just say that up. Wall Street's another thing. Politicians are another one. They're groups, pockets of people that it's like a post turtle. It's a turtle put up on a fence post. Nobody knows how it got there, but now how do you get them down? Like, you prop these people up on a literal pedestal of their finances. Like, well, not literal, but like a physical. Sorry, I'm butchering that. Let's regroup. Get a drink of water, not alcohol. All right, it's like the same as people that win the lottery. Like, or what is that movie? It's got Jack Black in it. It's where he sells the Pooh Be Gone, and it's what happens if your average person ended up with more money than they knew what to do with. Jack Black was like buying a horse, had a bowling alley in his house, and the thing is what we learned through MTV and the lives of these musicians was that they were doing the same thing. They were like it was like winning the lottery. Like they made some music, they poured their heart and emotions out on the paper, and they learned to play an instrument, and then boom, now they're like riding white horses and doing all these crazy things that like there's people out there struggling to breathe or not breathe, struggling to eat, struggling to have a roof over their head, and there's this dude like, oh, I'm gonna buy this, and so and athletes too. Sorry, that's another subgroup that we need to fix this for because yeah, they're out there minding their own business, like succeeding where they're able to, and that's great. I actually have a friend who, well, former teammate, I guess. I wouldn't really call us friends. Like we don't like hang out and stuff, but um, signed a $10 million contract. Like $10 million. You think about that. Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. So, and I don't mean this guy. I don't have this person in mind when I'm talking about this, but making it comfortable for people with a lot of money to help people with not a lot of money, and making it dignified all the way around. Because once you do it in that way, then it's easier. It's easier to get on board with from both sides, like the giving and the receiving side. And then the people that are receiving, there's a good chance that they're going to turn around and give. So it is a self-sustaining business model that as long as you keep it nonprofit, it could actually, I mean, you could do it even if it was profitable. Like, I mean, that's what a bank is. Like a bank is trying to do that, but like if you look at what is it? Yes Man with Jim Carrey. Where he just starts saying yes to all these crazy business loans. But since he said yes to just about anything that they suggested, the bank actually ended up doing really well because there was a lot of small loans that wouldn't have been approved previously because of money markets and all this and all of the accidental evil that goes with banking. Um, I mean, granted, that's paying for people's jobs and livelihoods too. I'm not trying to take away from that, but at the same time, when you think about poverty and partly how it happens and homelessness, like just look at the ARM loans, the adjustable rate mortgages that was actually having people getting foreclosed on. Sorry, that you need to check out Always Sunny in Philadelphia for that episode where they buy a foreclosed house, because that's some scary stuff there. 'Cause that's where like normal people, what you would think was normal, like people do following the rules, doing all the stuff, showing up every day to a job, they're doing whatever, like living the American dream, or so they thought, and then boom, that loan that sounded too good to be true. Guess what? It was too good to be true, and now you're homeless. Like, get the kids, kick them out, like, and that's how it happened, as recent as like this decade, so or even last decade. So what I'm saying is, even the best country in the world, quote unquote, is still having things like this, and it's very easy to see how. It's people thinking that they could do it and then realizing they can't, and then the accidental evils of greed and business to where it's like, oh, never mind. So, anyways, back to the program. So you convince people, it doesn't have to just be wealthy, but this is like the first people that I'm thinking of that would do this. I mean, all it would take is a few people toss a few million, and then you could help, a few thousand people get out of their credit card debt. At least like get them that far. And we're only talking like for a period of maybe a year or two. Like if you just like bundled everything up and made it like almost like no interest. If you just stop the extra money that's getting tacked onto these things, like then you're good. And it's funny because we're getting a lot of scam calls now since student loans are starting back up. So here in America, like myself included, I've been getting all sorts of new ones, and they're even like leaving messages, which royally just like irks me. Like I'm writing down all the numbers and reporting them, but like it's as any good white hat would, keep track of it. Like, oh, you're gonna call my number? That's unfortunate because now you're on my radar. And granted, it's not. They think they're slick because they'll like call from one number, and I've noticed that some of them are actually spoofed numbers because, well, anyways, sorry. The tracking software that I have says that it is spoofed, but no, I'm just kidding. They like to leave another number to call back, so it's not the number calling you. So that means right there, that's telling me that that could be a spoofed number too. I mean, that's just like the thinking that I'm doing, like when I get these crank calls. But anyways, the idea is helping people get out of debt, even if it's just a little relief. Then that gives them a window. Like they'll go right back into debt sometimes if they're not in a comfortable place. It's really easy to just max it back out again. And that's just human nature. Like, okay, whew, I got that. Now let's do it again. Like let's be more careful about it. But then this type of program can allow people to do that. Like, get the new car, do the repairs, make your family safer. Like, get better food, start eating healthier. Like, stop worrying about all this. Like, it's okay to go into debt and then have people bail each other out and then go back into debt. Like, that's what we're trying to do, and we're getting better at it. Like, and if you don't believe me, Trump declared bankruptcy like 6 times, and he started off with millions of dollars. So what I'm telling you is the richest of the rich and the poorest of the poor is all susceptible to this cycle. So in order to fix it, we would just need to adjust it to where we would have these situations. And now I'm not saying let's give Trump a bunch of loans. No. If anything, Trump could be buying a bunch of these things because it's also like sponsoring a kid in Africa. Now, and I mean for that. That is intentionally kind of like, wait, what? What did you just say? Because it's degrading. That's what I'm saying. Like, sorry, it's like I'm having an argument with myself. Feeding people in Africa, because that's like the easiest place that we can point to for people that are not in tune at all with like what's going on in the world. If they're completely like, and for whatever reason, I'm not saying it's good or evil. It's like there are people that are working so hard in their career that they have no idea what's going on their street, let alone the country across the world. Like, they just don't have time to process that. Like, that's the way that we have to do to keep up this facade of success in this country, to where it's like, you got to work, you got to do the grind, you got to fake it till you make it, and like, do that cringy smile, like, I guess this is the best, like, this is what's supposed to happen. And so, I don't know. And that's what the world's seeing. The world is starting to realize that America does not have its stuff together like we like to make you think we do. I mean, we don't have all the answers. We got a lot of them, and we'll help you with what we know, and we will present the information to where you can choose to do with it as you wish. And that's the other thing is like that's the difference between a dictator and a leader, or a boss and a leader. It's like, okay, if you're doing this, then let them figure it out. Otherwise, you're going to have another England and American Revolution situation. Like, we rebelled against our government because we didn't see eye to eye. We were like, why? No, I want to practice my own religion. Like, it was just like, I want to do my own flavor of Christianity, not your flavor of Christianity. Like, and that's as messed up as it is. It's like, wait, so, and we went from that. We fought a war. Yeah, it was bad. So, and what's going on now? Now, like, the Israel-Palestine thing, that's more about, from what I understand, mind you, I'm not an expert. I'm just saying, like, this is from what I see, is like, they need to have somewhere else for these people to go. If Israel's not gonna, like, and that's just my understanding, is like, let Israel be Israel, and then let Palestine go be Palestine, or I don't know, like, and even that I feel like isn't fair. Like, that's probably really offensive, and there's no way around it. Either way, you're gonna offend somebody if you try to have a stance on that because it's people's homes. Like, on a micro scale, I've known several people that have been evicted or close to evicted, myself included. I've had to move back in with the parents, like, to avoid homelessness myself. So I get it, like, and that's just like the minor inconvenience of an American homelessness versus like the possible life or death situation of a Palestinian homelessness. And then Israel, like, they've been homeless, kicked out for thousands of years. Like their history is being homeless. Like so, what I'm saying is, people are people, and it's a tricky situation. So the best that I can do, I feel like Pawn Stars here. The best I can do is try to solve the problems here locally, and hope some of the ideas are successful going abroad. Like, and that's all anybody really wants to do is like, be happy, be healthy, and to the best that we can. It's all good if not, but I mean, we'll just keep trying again. We'll live to fight another day, except for when we don't. And that's why, like, yeah, it's easier heard than understood, though, too. Almost any solution you can give to try to give world peace until you get the New World Order, and then once everybody's on board and communicated, then we're good. Mm. And in the last one, it was either the first one or the second one, we were talking about Gotham and how there was a secret society of people behind the scenes there. And it's like the New World Order now is actually the opposite. It's like an anything but secret society. It's all of the YouTubers, it's all of the Twitch streamers, it's all of like the role models, the leaders that are able to like think about what they're saying, think about what they're supporting, and then be like, okay, you know what, I was wrong, or oh, you know what, like this is true. Like we're giving the people back the power, or I don't know, dare I say, the meek are inheriting the earth. Sorry, that's a Bible reference. So those non-Christian type people that might not know about that, that's just something that the Bible says is like the meek shall inherit the earth, kingdoms will crumble, whatever, and like all this, and and it's interesting, and it just cracks me up because the people that are usually the more outspokenly religious are usually, not always, but usually the ones that are a little less sympathetic to the plight of the average person. Like get up and start go back to work, like you dirty hippie or whatever, and like and South Park, I'm telling you, you just gotta watch a bunch of South Park and see what I'm talking about. But like, yeah, we'll keep a stack. We don't need all of those seeds. I went a little overboard because we don't have the infrastructure for the massive farm that I should be or I've been making. Let's see. Yeah, and I think I'm losing steam on these musings, but I feel like we've covered a lot of ground here and at least given a nice starting point so people can start looking into what they can do. And, and yeah, all of my side projects, all of the things that I'm working on in my spare time, my hobbies, if you will, are trying to figure these things out, trying to make it to where, okay, how do we do this? And then I'm not going to be out there doing all of it. Like I'm not going to take the credit for all of it either. I'm going to just give the ideas. A person I used to know, um, a therapist actually, uh, they used to work with addiction counseling and stuff like that specifically, but was qualified for all this, whatever. He used to say that he would build up companies and sell them because he just liked creating the business and letting someone else take it and go with it. Like they'll be doing the actual work, but he got them going. Like, and I feel like that's what everyone wants to do. Everyone wants to pass the baton to someone else and then make it to where they can be happy and successful. Like, it's just human nature. So, we got to get past a couple of things first, and then we got to start figuring out ways. Not like we're not doing it. I mean, when you say it like that, no, definitely. Like people are out there figuring these things out as we speak. Like, in fact, this video, by the time you see it, might be obsolete. Like within a year. I mean, granted, most of you probably won't even see this for a couple of years. I'm just kidding. I've been doing this for 2 years now, and like my videos are still about like I don't know, 10 to 100 views mostly. The shorts get up there into the thousands, but it doesn't even matter because like there's books being written. Neil deGrasse Tyson's book, what is it? The Cosmic Philosopher. No, it's the book that he just wrote. I got it. My mom got it. She got a couple copies so she could give them to people. She loves it. I still haven't read it. I've read the first chapter. I love it. Don't get me wrong. And it was a great buy. But like, I'm just already thinking a lot of the same things he's talking about. So it's like it's good. It's fun. But like, a lot of sciencey type people are starting to realize and come together and be like, yes, this is now happening. It's the New World Order. Now, people are like hesitant to call it that because the New World Order, as we've been trying to do for decades, like President Bush used to say that. If you read the book Behold the Pale Horse, it talks in there. I think it's by like William Bradley Cooper. I want to say some big time naval person, but anyways, someone with some insight into the United States military and like And then with presidencies, trying to connect these dots, and whether he did or didn't, that's up for your interpretation if you read the book. But the general idea I got from it was the New World Order as people were trying to do it. Now, and it used to have to be the people that were wealthy enough to have a mouthpiece, like they had a say. I mean, or they could have their voice heard. Whereas now, everybody can do it. YouTube, it's you up on that tube, So, and granted, my stuff's not super entertaining yet, but who knows, with some editing and all that. But that's not the goal. The goal is to build up the company and then let you, the viewer, take it and run with it. Take the education. You got to remove all the friction. Oh, and that's the other thing too. Part of why I'm like working on educational projects. I'm about done with preschool math. Well, not done. I'd say there's still a lot more I want to do, but I'm trying to go through and cover all of the standards and like what you're supposed to learn in public school, and then make a scratch program out of it. Like that's what my current project is. Like, and I started with like spinning bunches of bananas because one of the big things for kindergarten math is, are you able to visualize groups or to work with groups of items? Like, so they're bunches of bananas that they're the same, they're uniform, and there's three single bananas in each bunch. So I've got three sets of three, and then I'm just showing how like, well, this is kind of like three times three, or you can count each individual banana to count nine bananas, or you can start grouping them into groups of three. And that's actually what you'll end up doing with a lot of math is like whether you realize it or not, you're constantly trying to group things so it's easier for you to comprehend. Like in your mind, you're not juggling nine bananas. It's, oh, that's three bunches. What's a bunch? Oh, it could be three. In this situation, it's three. And then you're getting into computer programming. Because in computer programming, you have to have the obscurity of the variable and then the contents of the variable, the data in the variable. So, what's the box and what's the thing you're shipping? Or what's this thing holding? Like, yeah, it's like a mailbox and then a letter in the mailbox. Like, oh, but this mailbox is at this memory address. So it's like addressing and locating where the data is that you're trying to access. And all of this is done in a black box setting. Like you're not actually opening up the computer box and thumbing through a bunch of files, like paper files, and then pulling a paper file out. Nah. You're like, okay, put it at this address, and you might as well be Ooga Booga, or, like address negative 53. Like, it doesn't matter to you. It's just, it matters to the computer, and then the computer will go to exactly where you tell it to, and it'll get what's there, and then it'll bring it back to you. I mean, it's a machine. It's not like as much as we do AI and as much as we start making computers to where they seem like thinking machines and stuff, at the end of the day, well, at least for now, I guess I should say, they're just simple machines that don't think. They follow your orders, they go where you say to go, they trust you, and then and if it makes the system crash or if it causes problems, the good thing is they're not to the point where they'd start blaming you. I mean, they will, but they won't like have emotion tied to it. Like, how could you be so stupid to do this? Or, like, nah, it's just yes or error. Like, oh, I found it, or no, I didn't find it, and here's what happened. So, wow, that was quite the rabbit hole. But education. Mm. So it's not enough to stop killing people. That's a great first step. So we got to stop bombing each other and stop killing each other. But then we need to make it sustainable. We need to educate them, house them, clothe them, feed them, and then make it to where they can house and clothe and feed themselves. That's one of the another biblical thing is like Jesus with the fish and the bread. Like, or no, what am I thinking of? No, that's the opposite. That's where you're feeding the wildlife and then they become dependent, which is what we have a lot of in Colorado. You got to be careful not to feed the animals because then that affects the ecosystem and all that. But are you the one coming over here? See, I feel like that's just glitching because they're trying to. They're trying to come in here and mess with the crops. But maybe it was when I was working on the underwater, the channels or whatever. And I think it just glitched. Like they're like electrons when you're not watching them. It's like now they're able to path over here and start ripping up veggies. But when I'm here in the block, no. I feel like there's some underlying code logic like that if you looked at the code, or some potential for that behavior to happen accidentally, like where they can actually break the laws of Minecraft physics here. Because right now, as you can see, none of them have made it in there. I'm watching. I would notice somebody walking in there doing the thing. They're trying to. And they're trying more things too. You notice that like they walk away and then they come back. Then, like I can't make it there. Error. But I'm gonna keep trying. Anyway, sorry, that was a way tangent. if you give a give a human a fish, they'll eat for a day. If you teach a human to fish, they'll eat for life. See right there, pronouns and using human. Like that's all we really needed. And then it's is it a guy? Is it a girl? Does it matter? No, it's both. A woman and a man can both fish. A woman and a man can do anything, like they can survive. Now, in like without technology, it would be a little harder. There'd have to be the hunter gatherers and like the division of labor, the ones birthing the kids, like the duties would have to be outlined. But in a land of plenty where all of this stuff is taken care of, yes, equality can be achieved. So I'd actually wager that it's inequality the other way because at least until scientific breakthrough, men can't have babies, and then it's like, so women are always going to be superior in that right. Oh, but then they need the DNA from the man until we can be able to provide DNA in that situation or in that fashion to where it can replace a man. I'll see, there you go. The accidental patriarchy inadvertently becomes where the man is kind of like the endangered one. So, and then there's some like power struggles underlying that concept. So, anyways, whew, anthropology, sociology, all wrapped into one. And honestly, I don't really know the difference. Anthropology, I feel like, is more historical, but sociology is more like modern. I don't know, because they were very similar. Like the cultures that we studied in either of those classes were widely different. Like I went from studying the African Kung people, humans, the bush people, versus in sociology we were talking about Hell's Angels and like stuff like that in American, and then Darfur, how they had child soldiers killing each other over there, and they probably still do. I don't know. I like to think that they're not, but I haven't really investigated it for a few years. I think the last I looked at it, there was still grumblings of trouble going on and power struggles. And more recently, I guess like Africa in general, I was reading this thing thinking, all right, sorry, let me back up a little bit. So Mr. Beast just put out a video recently of digging 100 wells in Africa, and that's great. We're giving them their basic needs, so they don't even have their basic needs really met yet. They have a lot of dirty water, and Africa is such a general term. Like there's tons of places that are farther and behind and tech-wise, whatever, and for a number of reasons. Nothing against them. No, like that's why you got to be careful. Like pride and feelings of inadequacy and feelings of jealousy and resentment and all that, like those are barriers to success, and those are things that we need to address when we're trying to fix these problems, because you can't just like dump a bunch of money and be like, here, then they'll have the same thing. They'll Jack Black it and then go win the lottery, have a bowling alley in their basement while everybody else is still starving. And not because they're evil, it's just because, well, what do you expect? Like someone who's not used to having this much money all of a sudden has all this money and is fine. Like, so as long as we're aware of that, then we can proceed to fix these problems. So, basic needs, education, food, healthcare, all this stuff that we constantly fight about here in the U.S. Like, once those basic needs are met, then you can focus on the other things. Like, do they have enough entertainment? Like, or are their idle hands going to go into vandalism and gang activity? Like, these things that you need to consider. And just being matter of fact about it. No, there's no like, oh, they're so and so, like they're this color, so of course they're gonna do this. Like, no, if they're feeling either real or perceived inadequacy and inequality and unfairness, then they're more susceptible to doing something about it. Like, well, they might fix it. They might be the vigilante justice, the Batman of whatever. Like, you know, we have tons of little micro communities and economies and ecologies like ecosystems. There you go. That's what I was trying to think of. In the U.S., like neighborhood to neighborhood. That's why I like what was it? Shameless, where it was like South Side Boston or something. Like, they wanted to act all tough, and then the Southies and all this. It's not exactly unique. Like you got South Side, North Side, like East Side, West Side, poor side, rich side. Buena Vista even was split. Like, there was the golf course type people, the people that worked on the course, and the people that could afford to go there. Like, there was clear divisions of living standards. So, anyways, that's about 30 minutes here. But my point is, it's important that we facilitate education to everybody to where they're not embarrassed by it, they're not resentful for it, and just doing that will disarm most of the malicious activity of the world. Because, I mean, food, water, we got it, except in war-torn places. Like, I remember back when Elon was bragging about, I'd fix world hunger if they could give me a plan. Well, they can't give you a plan because the world's constantly fighting itself. Like, as soon as we stop fighting, then we can focus on rebuilding and just building and empowering. Like, it's there. Plenty of people want to help. It's just, yeah. And we're close. We're close. So, anyways, ta-ta for now. I will see you in the next one.